every time you do one of these experiences, you have a strategy. You don't just say, okay, I'm going to just push through until I'm dead.
Yeah.
You have a strategy, and it sounds like Jenna's really helping you craft this strategy. But how does someone, for me in this physical challenge, like I got up and I did one lap, and then I was like, okay, let me do one more.
Yeah.
And then one more, and I was like, okay, now we have 2 more to go.
Yeah.
We can finish this. How do people push through these mental or physical challenges when it seems like, gosh, it's going to take me 10 years to launch a podcast like what Lewis has, 100%. Or 10 years to build this business or to do this thing? How do people push through that barrier, and how do you do it?
For me, people love to ask me about my physical training. How do I get strong? There's some fun stories about the crazy training that I did to prepare for this and whatnot. But I believe that it's the muscle 6 inches between your ears. It's about flexing your mind is really what it comes down to. And I describe that moment of Jen and I writing our dreams onto this whiteboard. Sadly, as you know, that's where 99.9% of dreams die as an idea. Because all of a sudden we have these doubts in our mind. Oh, I can't, or it's going to take 10 years, or I could never catch up to this person, or this metric, or that metric. But it's about showing up. It's about getting out there every single day. So in Antarctica, and there's also the ability to be able to adapt. So actually, my first day in Antarctica, I think, is really emblematic of that. And to be fair about the 29 event, you're like, Colin, what are you doing in a couple weeks? You seem like you're in pretty good shape. And I was like, well, I'm going to try to cross Antarctica by myself in like 2 weeks, literally like 2 weeks before I was leaving. So I was pretty well trained at that moment. But I get out there. We've been planning this project for well over a year. It's a world first. No one's ever done it. There's so many doubters and naysayers. Someone actually died 100 miles from the finish line 3 years ago trying this project. Another one of the best explorers in the world went out there the following year, and after 52 days ran out of food and had to be picked up and didn't make it. So there's a lot of people. There's a lot of print articles and big magazines saying it's physically impossible to do this thing. And so I know that going in. And so we build this strategy. And the unsupported nature means you can't take any extra supplies with you. Basically, what you have in your sled to start, no one can give you anything, essentially. And so in that case, weight is of the essence. And so I pack my sled as much of food and as much fuel. The fuel, I melt the ice into water. And I don't bring extra anything. I literally don't even have an extra pair of underwear with me for 54 days because I can't, I'd rather have 100 more calories in my sled of food.
Same underwear
for 54 days.
Straight. Yeah. Oh my God.
Not fancy.
That's some soggy underwear right there.
Yeah. That's not nice.
Oh man. But you clean it at least? You try to?
No, not much. You
can't.
you just kind of ride it out.
Wow, man.
So no, not smelling
one
good.
One day of chafing and you're done too.
Yeah. So look after your body. But I get out there, I fly, this plane lands me out on the edge of the Antarctic continent, takes off. I'm all alone out there, right? I've dropped off alone. Actually, you had mentioned before there was another guy out there, which is important to mention at this point because another British explorer, one of the most experienced in the world in terms of the amount of miles traversed in Antarctica and various other projects, he also decides that he wants to try to be the first. So not only am I now racing history, but this guy's a British Navy SEAL equivalent, special forces guy. His name's Lou Rudd, and he's a badass, and he wants to do this as well. It was his friend who died 3 years ago. Wow. He's doing that to honor him, and I got a lot of respect for all of them. There's a camaraderie as well, of course, and we both know what we're going through, but we also both clearly want to be first. And he's looking at me like, who's this, bit younger guy who doesn't have the real experience in Antarctica? Who does he think he is? And I'm kind of trying to be confident in my plan. And so plane drops us off. We're at a mile apart from each other, equidistant from the first waypoint, the first GPS marker on the map. And I get out there and I've got this video of me being it's a blue sky day. It's great. After a year of planning, it's finally time for me to try to cross Antarctica. I'm taking the first step and I bend down and I pull the strap on my sled to tighten it for the first time, and ping, the strap breaks. No Literally, way. The strap breaks. It's minus 25 and the plastic can't handle it. Breaks. So right out of the gate, I'm like, wow, this is going to be a long journey. This is before the first step. So then I strap into my sled, and the sled's the heaviest on the first day. 375 pounds to start was about the maximum I thought I could pull. So I put as much food as I could, even though I knew I was going to burn 10,000 calories per day, and I factored I could carry about 7,000 calories. So I was going to lose weight every single day straight from the get-go, even eating 7,000 calories. That's how intense and cold it is. And so I start pulling my sled, and you asked me before about sweat. About 1 hour in, I'm sweating. And I'm like, wait, this sled's so heavy, but I can't not pull it without sweating. And so I start sweating. Then I realize I actually don't think I can pull this sled, and I start crying. I literally start crying. But what happens when you cry when it's minus 25 degrees
Freezing.
out? It freezes to your face. So I have frozen tears to my face, and I'm 1 hour, 2 hours into this journey. And so the only thing I could think of is I call home to Jenna.
Wow.
And so I pick up the phone and I go, hey babe, yeah, we may have named our project The Right Thing. It appears to be impossible. Because we had called it The Impossible first.
Wow.
And she's like, uh-oh. And so she tries to, she's like, okay, well, and meanwhile, I'm seeing Lou disappear on the horizon with this beautiful, like, ski stroke, like, totally knows what he's doing, like, strong and steady out there. And, like, at this point, I can't even think about the fact that there's a race in place. I mean, I'm just trying to, like, get through the first day. And so she says to me, Colin, how far are you from the first waypoint? Like, she knows the route, we've studied it, she knows everything. The first waypoint's only a few miles from the drop-off point. And I'm like, I'm 0.63 miles from, it's as if I'm saying it's 1,000,000 miles, but she's like, okay, so you're half a mile from the first waypoint? Like, and this goes back to your original question of strategy, right? And she's like, do me a favor. Like, whatever you do, I know it's heavy, I know you're sweating, I know you're exhausted, and you're probably a little bit afraid, understandably, like, get to the first waypoint. Get to that first waypoint, and you'll have felt like you got somewhere on the first day. So for the next hour, I struggled and battled and get to that first waypoint, set up my tent, get inside my tent, and I say to Jenna, like, I call her again as kind of our safety check at night off the sat phone. She's like, how you doing? I was like, obviously I'm stressed. She says, look, I actually went out there intentionally with not a lot of music, not a lot of podcasts, because I wanted to explore the silence of these flow states that I hope to tap into in my mind, something I'm very curious about, the sort of mental side of this. And she goes, tomorrow, do me a favor. Try to find the flow, even if just for a minute or 2 minutes. It's going to be a hard day. And so just those words, I went to sleep and I was like, okay, I made it to the first waypoint. I'll get up tomorrow and kind of regroup. And then I woke up, and I'm big on mantras, but this mantra had never been with me before this, and just came to me out loud as my alarm went off to wake me up on my first real full day out there. I said out loud to myself, I said, Colin, you are strong, you are capable. You are strong, you are capable. And that ended up being my mantra every single day, waking up for the rest of the entire 54-day journey. And sure enough, that next day, was it stupid challenging? Yes, but instead of 2 miles, I made it 8 miles. And I found that flow state for a minute. The next day was 9 miles, and I found that flow for 2 or 3 minutes. And so we had a strategy. It went out the window on day one. Had to refocus on the mind, adjust a few things with our strategy, because I was hoping to go further distances in that. She's like, well, like, maybe it's not shorter distances at first, but as it gets lighter, maybe it'll go longer, and all this kind of stuff. And so, how do you strategize and plan for something that's been told is impossible? You're stepping into the unknown. It's by being adaptable and ultimately realizing that these things are happening in our minds, these doubts, these fears. That's a human thing. I don't care who you are. I still have them. I have 4 world records, and I've had, some bit of success in my life through challenges. But like, I wake up every day with doubts and fears and challenges, but it's being able to quiet that in my mind and continue to get to that first waypoint or get to that next step forwards in whatever you're doing.
Man, what did you do to get into flow every day then? Besides the mantra, how did you get into flow, and how did you stay into it? Yeah,
so that's something that I've just been fascinated with. So I grew up as a kid as a swimmer, and it's funny. I have 5 older sisters actually, and I'm the baby boy, and an older brother as well. But I'm a little boy of 7, blended family, but a big family, a loving, supportive environment. And my sisters and my parents would always be like, "You're always talking all the time. You're always this." Like, I was trying to hang out with them, follow my sisters into their room, like always like chatting and all this kind of stuff. But what I realized is I spent 4 hours a day as a kid swimming, 2 hours before school, 2 hours after school, putting in those reps of quiet. Swimming's this weird sport where you're staring at a black line, like you can't talk, there's no eye contact, there's no, really, you can't really chat to your teammates even, you're kind of in this zone. And so before I knew the word flow state or high performance, this is me as a kid, I realized I was sort of tapping in and out of those states. And I became more conscious of that as I went through my life and became a professional triathlete after whole other crazy tangent of my life, being severely burned in a fire in Thailand and being told I would never walk again. We can talk about that if you want. But the more so, what happened when I was racing triathlon is a friend of mine came to me and she said, I don't know much about sports. There's this Turkish woman who's a wife of a good friend of mine named Ece, and she says, I don't know much about sports, but just by observing this, I see that like this is all in your guys' minds out here. And I was like, yeah, absolutely. Like,
So swimming or the
this was
outdoor
triathlon.
stuff?
So this is
yeah.
triathlon. And this is when I was racing triathlon professionally. And she said, you know, I'd recommend that you go to these meditation retreats. And I was like, cool, I'm interested in meditation, but I don't like know a lot about it. I haven't done it. This is 2011. And she's like, yeah, if you heard of Vipassana meditation, it's these 10-day silent meditation retreats, 10 days, no reading, no writing, no eye contact, deep meditation. And she's like, you should try it. And I was like, well, don't I need like a little background in meditation before this? Or she's like, no. Like, just do it. It's free. There's centers around the world. It's completely free to go. Like, go. And so me being the kind of like jump in head first type of person, as you could probably tell here, I was like, great, I'll go. So my off season in triathlon that year, I signed up for this meditation retreat. And my stepdad, he drives me up to the retreat and he goes, hey, Colin, like I've pretty much never heard you shut up for a minute in your life. And so I'm going to wait here in the parking lot for an hour because once you realize this is a terrible idea, I'll be here waiting to drive you home. You know, joking. He my stepdad is this amazing mentor and influence in my life, incredible man. But he's literally going like, you're pretty extroverted and you're telling me you're going to sit in silence by yourself for 10 days. Sure enough, I stayed for those 10 days and it had just a profound impact on my life of learning about that self-awareness in my mind, in my brain, etc. And so from that practice, which I've gone back to this 10-day retreat, I try to go every single year if I can, done several, and as well as have a daily practice with it. I've kind of taken that into my canvas, into my artwork, into my sport, and this curiosity of the mind and where we can go in our mind and brain. And so one of my deep curiosity about Antarctica, honestly, was unlocking the physical potential inside of me, but as a gateway to do that, exploring the mind. And what better place to be alone in this endlessly white landscape. The sun never sets. There's no change of days.
There's no dark.
There's no dark. It's a blank white canvas. And like I said, I literally deleted almost all the media from my iPhone as to not. I actually had a couple School of Greatness podcasts, a couple of Ritual podcasts, a few podcasts, and a few albums out there. I listened to some Paul Simon Graceland, a couple others, but there's very few. I spent 80-90% of the time in complete silence. And it was a beautiful thing to explore that. So how did I tap into that flow? Like I said, some of the times it was 30 seconds. Some of the times it was a minute or two. But as I kept on these repetition of days exploring this place in my mind, sometimes it was days, 2 days, 3 days, where the sequence of days would come through in high performance. And the stakes are high. It's 50, 60 mile per hour winds. If I let go of my tent, I have no shelter. It's gone. It's 80 degrees wind chill, minus 80 degrees wind chill. But I'm finding the space in my mind that is locked in and calm. And the most profound experience of that was actually on my very last day. So it's worthy of mentioning, after the 6th day, I did catch up to Mr. Captain Lou Rudd and surpassed him and ended up in front of him the rest of the time. And I, on the 52nd day, I woke up and I'm 77 miles away from the finish. And I'm thinking it's about 3 days, probably, give or take that. It's Christmas morning, and I wake up and I get outside of my tent, and the deepest flow state of my entire life just comes over me. I just realize, I recognize it, I say my mantra, I tap in, and I start exploring. When I'm in the deepest flow states, I'm also hyper aware. And so I start thinking, like, how many more miles do I have to go? How much time would that take? Oh, it's 3 days, but what if I did it back to back? What if I did it in one big final push? I've never gone more than 33 miles in an individual day, and I average about 15 to 17 miles a day. So I'm 77 miles away from the finish, and I'm 53 days in this expedition. But I get into this place in my mind that's so deep, where I feel this strength and this power and this flow, that I start to say to myself, whoa, we have this capacity as humans, not me, but as humans. And I'm tapped into the vibration of my family and friends and the school kids that are following along, and just this radiant positivity that I'm shining out, but receiving back in such a significant way, that I tap into this flow. And for the next 32 hours, I don't stop.
Wow.
I continue onwards. I have to stop at hour 18 to put up my tent to melt a little bit of snow to get some more water, because I'd ran out of water. Call home to my family. It's Christmas night. It's 7 p.m. for them on Christmas night. They're all gathered together. They're like, you did your best day ever. 18 hours. I can't believe it. You're almost a day or two from the finish. And I was like, I'm not stopping. I'm still going. And my mother, who's been a huge influence in my life, and certainly Jenna, my sister, these strong women who have just been like these amazingly positive influences on my life, they hear it in my voice. And of course, as a mother or as a wife or as a sister, you're a little bit worried. Your person is out there in this intense environment, but they reflect now as they've told me the story from their point of view, and they have it recorded on Christmas Day, this conversation that we had, and they were like, we could hear it in your voice. Wow. You were more focused and more clear than you've ever been. And they just said, I can't wait to hear from you in 12 hours. You're going to cross this finish line and create history.
Wow.
Go live your destiny.
That's
and it was
crazy.
just this beautiful, beautiful moment of the mind. And I think, I'll say coming back home and it was asked all these questions in the media and press, which is, super humbling. And this question that kept coming up and it keeps coming up, which is, Colin, are you superhuman? And my question is simple. It's like, yeah, I'm superhuman. And so are you. And so are you. Like, what I'm tapping into in my mind is accessible to all of us. And like, yes, you may not want to walk across Antarctica by yourself. In fact, I don't blame you for not wanting to do that, for seriously. But like, whatever it is, you talk about business, entrepreneurship, innovation, music, art, love, creation, positivity, whatever that is, like, that is within us. And that's what I tapped into out there, which is the most special thing for me to come back and be able to share is that resonant positivity and the power that we all have within us.
If you're looking for more greatness in your life, make sure to check out this video right here. And also check out our free PDF, The 3 Secrets to Unlock the Power of Your Mind to help you change your life. Download it right here.
If you're walking in the direction of greatness, you're walking in the direction of excellence, you're going to be uncomfortable.